important topic when we are thinking about safeguarding and keeping people safe from any harm or abuse is intersectionality. So we learned about intersectionality in the gender equity and inclusion course, but intersectionality is a framework for understanding the multiple identities that every person is living at once, and the ways that those different identities can lead to different barriers or opportunities depending on the context and on the way that society either places value on those identities or does not. So with overlapping identities, that leads to potentially increased risk and overlapping barriers to access and opportunity. So we'll take a look at two key groups today that are really important to keep in mind when it comes to this increased risk. That the first is understanding disability and safeguarding. So people with disabilities, especially young women and girls with disabilities, face increased risks of sexual exploitation, abuse and harassment, intimate partner violence, and some disability-specific harms like neglect by a caregiver. And they also may face increased barriers to accessing reporting channels and to receiving support that treats them with dignity and respect. So, for example, receiving referrals to care and support services that are inclusive and accessible to their needs. Maybe they've been referred to a physical location that does not have an accessible entrance for them to use, so they can't even go inside. And that experience can be re-traumatizing for those individuals. They also will often, I think, face increased stigma and a lack of respect for their agency in these experiences. And so it's really critical that our prevention and response can take into account the increased vulnerabilities, but also the needs and priorities that people with disabilities are voicing to us through our work with them. So you can learn more about the barriers and vulnerabilities of young people with disabilities in the disability inclusion topic in our Introduction to Gender Equity and Inclusion course. But there are very important links between safety and inclusion that we can see with this target.